Number one Ibble Dibble here. Hello, friends. I know I'm always the last channel to respond to H&M news. I really don't have time to stay on top of it. So thank you to those of you who prefer post-game analysis. Today's topic, of course, is Spotify dropping H&M. If you haven't heard the full rant from the founder of Spotify, here it is. If you have, the timestamp to forward to my chat is in the description box below.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm good with
My
that.
last one is Prince Harry.
Oh, yeah.
Shoot this guy to the sun. I'm so tired of this guy. What does he bring to the table? He just whines about shit. Like, keeps giving interviews. Who gives a shit? Who cares about your life? You weren't even like the favorite son. The other guy was the king. You're like the fucking Fredo.
Our wives care. Our wives care about him.
They don't even care. Does your wife care about Prince Harry? Nobody cares about this. He had a fucking eight episode Netflix show. What did we find out?
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah, that's
I can't stand him. So tired. I'm so embarrassed that I fucking have to share Spotify with him. The guy sucks.
Did you? You don't have to share with anybody. Didn't they tell you? You don't have to share.
I don't. I get to keep it. Yeah, you're right.
You're good. You get to
share
keep the whole thing. By the way, the news is just coming in
that he's on our platform.
He's replacing Kornacki, Prince Harry. That's not good. We don't want that.
It'll be the first productive thing he did. What does he do? It's one of those things where it's like, what's your talent? Why are we listening to you? What's your so you were born in a royal family and then you left. What are you good at?
Yeah, he didn't do anything there, and now he's going to come here and do nothing. But
yeah, you live in fucking Montecito, and you just you sell documentaries and podcasts, and nobody cares what you have to say about anything unless you talk about the royal family. You just complain about him. He's got a book. What do you write a book about?
Love this.
Honestly, he's the worst. I wish I had been involved in the Meghan and Harry leave Spotify negotiation. The fucking grifters. That's the podcast we should have launched with them. I got to get drunk one night and tell the story of the Zoom I had with Harry to try to help him with a podcast idea.
Do it.
It's one of my best stories.
Dude, there hasn't been a Drunk Simmons podcast. Let's both get drunk and then it'll just be drunk.
Save that idea.
It'll be really easy.
The grifters. All right, let's take a break.
Today, I'm taking it upon myself to do one of the tackiest things a person can do: count other people's money. Specifically, Harry and Meghan's. Sorry, boo-boos. You were the ones that chose Hollywood when you could have lived in genteel isolation. Times have changed. I'm sure the Greenwich Country Club would have accepted you. Anyway, your choice, not mine. So we know they're grifters. We know it will be a miracle if they're ever able to pull in another dollar, but they've pulled miracles out of their hat before. Let's daydream for a moment and pretend they'll never get another deal. Are they broke? When will they go broke? Before I begin, I'd like to say, if you think I've miscalculated something, by all means, let me know in the comments below. I know there's a level of artistry and cleverness to forensic and corporate accounting, not to mention extensive knowledge of the tax code in different states and perhaps different countries that I simply don't have. So if you do, write it in the comments below. To me, the first question seems, what is their net worth today? It's a little bit hard to calculate because we don't know when they spent what money, but this is my best guess. First, let's try Meghan. She did 6 seasons of Suits, 5 of them salaried at $1,540,000 per year. After US taxes, that is a take-home amount of $915,000 per year. Out of it, she had to give $154,000 to her agent. Rumor is she was spending $20,000 a month with Sunshine Sachs on PR. We don't know how long she had that contract with them for, if it was for $15,000 or $30,000, but we're estimating that in any given year she spends $240,000 on PR. Easily $30,000 a year on beauty, Botox, fillers, dental crowns, really expensive hairdressing, manicures, pedicures, skin treatments, etc. Easily $30,000 per year. I think she spent around $120,000 per year on clothes because you never see Meghan in anything cheap. It's always an Hermes watch, Louis Vuitton boots, Chloe glasses, that kind of thing. I think there was an element of trying to keep up with the Joneses, with her rich Toronto friends, and she was really overspending on clothes. I think she spent about $60,000 a year renting her place in Toronto. Very reasonable rents. A lovely 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood goes for around $5,000 a month there. I think she spent $20,000 a year on club memberships. Not only Soho House, but remember, this is Meghan. She has to go to the most expensive Pilates studio, the most expensive gym. She likes to treat herself, and she also networks hardcore no matter where she is. So I'm estimating that at $20,000 per year. I think she spent $30,000 per year on travel. I think most of her luxury travel was sponsored content. She was known locally in Toronto and had a big enough Instagram following to get hotels and meals at least comped. I'm sure she had to contact 30 resorts to get one to give her a free room, but we know Meghan, I'm sure she did. That's why this 30,000 number seems a little low. I think here and there she probably had to pay for her own flights, and we know Meghan wasn't flying economy until she was really going broke, stalking Harry at the beginning of their courtship, flying to London every single weekend so he wouldn't have time to even look at another woman. No, I don't think Harry paid for her flights. I think he behaves as a gentleman when instructed, but is thoughtless enough to just never think of offering. Moreover, even if this was not something King Charles was really aware of, it would be something his accountants became quickly aware of, which I think Harry was trying to prevent. Side note, it really made me laugh in the Netflix special when they showed the text messages between them of their travel plans, and every single message was Meghan going to Harry, Meghan going to Harry, Meghan going to Harry. I think he visited her in Toronto once because the one time he visited, she called the pops on him and she made up some ridiculous lie about her neighbors. Anyway, her car lease ran her about $10,000 per year. She had a very luxurious Audi in Toronto. And I've also put in $10,000 a year for just the pricey stuff she likes. Meghan always has the latest iPhone. She buys $200 candles. Also not $10,000, I'm sort of accounting for maybe she had to pay for meals and drinks sometimes. Generally speaking, I don't think Meghan is the type to put her hand in her pocket. I think she expects to be treated by others and often was, because relative to her friend group, she was the poor one, alone without her husband. But I'm sure she still had to chip in now and then. So what does that bring us to? There are a lot of factors that we just can't know about. For example, as an actress, was Meghan already an LLC? Was her tax-paying domicile Delaware? Or was it California? Or was it Canada? Any of these differences could change her take-home pay by 20%. Maybe half the reason she divorced Trevor was to get Canadian permanent residency. Apparently, for around 220,000 US dollars, if you've been working in Canada and living there for 31 months, which Meghan did after she divorced Trevor, you can apply for Canadian permanent residency, apply for public health insurance, all of it. Unlike US citizens, Commonwealth citizens have the right of abode in the UK. We know Meghan's plan was to land a wealthy Brit, and we also know that she was unable to secure work as an actress or presenter in the UK. So a Home Office certificate of entitlement in her passport would have been a game changer. Anyway, my rough estimate is that no matter what her setup, after her spending, she should have been able to put away at least $240,000 a year. I also have no doubt that she asked Trevor and in turn Corey to pay for everything. And I'm sure that allowed her to bank or spend more than $240,000 some of those years. So again, this is not a forensic accounting. This is just a loose average, my best guess. When she married Harry, she should have had around $1 million, maybe $1.2 million in the bank. Now let's talk about Harry's net worth. Apparently he inherited something between 11 million and 15 million pounds from his mother, which he absolutely never dipped into because he didn't need to. As a minor and then as a working royal, he earned an additional £3 million allowance per year. His mother's money was managed by palace investors. who reports say were able to almost triple it into 28 million pounds, the equivalent of 36 million US dollars, before he decided to take the money and run. Incidentally, I find it so galling when Harry complains about shopping the TK Maxx sales while his brother and sister-in-law are living the luxurious, higher in line to the throne than him life. Harry, I think your father would have been thankful if you had decided at any point to walk into a tailor's and dress properly. I think he would have happily footed the bill. Okay, so my estimate is that going into marriage, they had around $37 million between them. And their first couple months in Canada, when they were still being sponsored by the royal family, they had about the same. Reportedly, this is not confirmed, supposedly Harry collected around $10 million for the Me You Can't See on Apple Plus with Oprah, but pledged before doing it that he would donate all of the money to charity because that's what royals do. I think this was a turning point for them where they realized, hey, we could make a living if we didn't have to give all our earnings to those pesky poors. I think the first time on North American soil they got any fresh income was a gift from Prince Charles. Purportedly, Prince Charles gave him $6 million to cover housing and security. Then, of course, came the deals. Spotify ending that contract came at a price. I'm sure they still got $10 million of it. Netflix, again, obviously they didn't get the full 100 million or 80 million or whatever up front. I believe they probably got around 40 million. And Netflix may very well be next to drop them because they've proven they cannot fulfill this contract due to laziness, incompetence, or a combination. So we'll see where that goes. Anyway, I believe they took home 40 million from that deal. And of course, Spare. Harry's advance was 20 million pounds. I don't believe he got back end beyond that because Spare was part of a 3 or 4 book deal. So I don't believe he's going to get any back end until that deal is performed. But I don't know. If you work in publishing and you know better, by all means, let us know in the comments below. Now, I'm sure there are all kinds of instruments to make income tax on this 76 million disappear. Obviously, this was their main goal when they set up Archwell. I don't believe they're paying the 37% personal income tax rate plus whatever state taxes, as they should be. I think they clearly incorporated Archwell Productions in Delaware to benefit from the 8.7% corporate income tax and less than 1%, sometimes less than 0.1% gross receipts tax, capped at $1.25 million there. Meghan and Harry didn't technically get the money from those deals. Archwell Productions did. And I'm sure Archwell Productions salaries H&M at whatever they spend, and they in turn donate an equal amount to the Archwell Foundation. So they're also minimizing or even eliminating any personal income taxes that would be due on their salary from Archwell Studios or production or whatever they're calling it. This is especially true during the pandemic when people were permitted to write off charity donations at 100% of the amount given. So in my estimation, after Delaware state taxes, they were left with $72,657,000 in Archwell Productions, and they were salaried at whatever they ended up donating to Archwell over that 2-year period. We know it's $13 million, and that actually almost perfectly matches my estimate of their living expenses. I estimated their cost of living at $6,400,000. Half of 13 million is $6,500,000. So I think I got it. Again, I'm a total amateur, so please correct me in these comments. I guess that a big chunk of that 72 million is invested in a balanced portfolio by a professional. I wonder if they got it invested fast enough to take any advantage at all of the Fed printing billions of dollars during the pandemic. Or maybe it wasn't even primarily invested in the US. Maybe it was mostly invested in the UK with people Harry knew and trusted. Maybe these idiots didn't deal with professionals at all and instead just spent $5 or $10 million of it here and there on vitamin coffee and sustainable travel app companies. I don't know. We know they bought a bunch of expensive stuff like their house. We know that they made a bunch of questionable investments like Travelist, we don't know which pot they came from. The smarter thing would be to cash out whatever personal investments they had to pay for this stuff, because capital gains tax in California is more than double what it is in Delaware. California is 13.3%, Delaware is 6.6%. So for the sake of this model, I'm going to assume that's what they did, but who knows? Also, who knows how many subsidiaries they have, how many employees they have. Now we're really moving into true speculation and imaginary territory. To best conserve their wealth, there should be two main goals here. Number one, to more or less eliminate personal wealth, any personal investments they have. Income and investments are taxed slower and therefore build faster in a Delaware corporation. Goal number two is to not chip into that capital. They say it takes around 4 generations for even the hugest fortunes to disappear. And this is why it's from bad investments or just continuously chipping into the capital. H&M think they're being so clever by spending whatever they want and then having Archwell Productions claim that as their salary. The actually clever thing to do would be to see how much the company's investments returned the year prior and not spend more than that no matter what. Not on a house, not on security, certainly not on private jets. So let's look at their expenditures and try to figure out where they stand. First, let's cover the one-time expenses to set up their life in California. We know the house was $14.5 million. Their 4 cars are worth around $300,000. Their setup fees, attorney and accounting, just to establish themselves, establish their business, establish their charity, were probably $400,000 or $500,000. You know, Harry and Meghan paid piles of initiation fees for private clubs. I'm estimating that at around $200,000. And we know they did several renovations to their home. I'm putting those at $1.5 million. They might have been more or less. As I said, I'm guessing they pulled that out of their prior joint $37 million personal fortune, and they're at a joint personal fortune of $20 million. As for Archwell Productions, what expenses do they really have other than other people's salaries, right? They've done almost no work. Spotify gifted Meghan the $300,000 recording studio in her house. It seems to me there are no products made and therefore no cost of goods sold. There's no Archwell office. There are no Archwell laptops. There are no Archwell cell phones. No Archwell petty cash reimbursements. No one's printing anything, right? I think their only expenses are PR, legal, accounting, money management. That's really it. Things only get really, really messy when we move over to the Archwell Foundation, which I'm not dealing with today because it's really the least part of H&M's wealth. In theory, at a future date, they could pull salaries from the foundation as officers, or their children could, but they're not doing that now. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm totally off here. That brings us down to a joint net worth of approximately $90 million. The numbers bear out $90,700,000 with $70,700,000 in Archwell Productions and the remaining $20 million in personal accounts or investments. I'm taking that $700,000 off the figure because this is a model. Day one, year one, we need to establish a starting point. While in reality, the money from these deals came in at different times and they've been spending here and there over time. For the same reason, I just generally consider this a high estimate. Meghan's a spendthrift who thinks nothing of spending $100,000 on a ring, and she fancies herself an angel investor in female-led startups, so who knows? And Harry treats private jets like grab cabs. Who even knows what they've spent that we're not aware of? Again, it's just really hard for me to say how much they actually earn off of investments because these two think they're smarter than everyone else. I'm going to assume, just for the sake of this game, that they blew $5 million on bullshit investments they'll never get back. Part of me wants to say higher than 5 million because both of them are obviously emotional gamblers. Part of me wants to say lower than 5 million because both of them are also super cheap and would only partner with companies that would give them equity in exchange for them playing company mascots on Instagram Reels or at fake progressive conferences pertaining to nothing. I don't know. I'm guessing 5 million. leaving us with 70 million in the business arm of Archwell, 15 million in their personal accounts, 85 million total. So how much can they make off of that doing literally nothing if they never make another dollar, pound, or euro ever? I'm sure they have like $500,000 in cash just in case. Now, who knows what the future holds, but if it's anything like the past, Meghan and Harry would be best not managing that 84.5 million actively at all. They'd be best putting all of it into an S&P 500 fund and living off the interest. And again, this is assuming they want to do literally nothing. Of course, they could buy a portfolio of LA rental properties and probably make a better return. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jay-Z don't get super yacht and Portofino money from movies and records. They're huge landlords. So is Cameron Diaz. Even relatively smaller stars of past generations you'd never expect, like Roberta Flack and Angela Lansbury, had rental properties. Maybe Meghan has already reached out to the cast of Selling Sunset via her Netflix connections. But I'm not going to assume they'll do that. I'll assume that they'll pay high fees for active management that makes a lot of mistakes. So the average rate of return for the S&P 500 since 2012 is 12.84%. Pause. Accounting for inflation, because the Fed loves to bail. No one's allowed to fail in America except the little people. Over the past 20 years, so from 2002 to 2022, the average annualized return was 8.19%. Now, in this model, we're going to way oversimplify and estimate extremely conservatively that they will make an annual return of 7% on the money they have. I'm also going to assume they pay 0.5% annually to a money manager and $50,000 to an accountant. Between their Delaware income and Archwell Productions and their presumably California income from personal investments, they should be able to earn $3,700,000-ish a year, literally without lifting a finger ever again. Funnily enough, very close to the allowance Harry had from Prince Charles in the first place. As long as they don't chip into that capital. Sounds easy enough, right? They already bought their house. They already own a bunch of cars. Bravo, H&M. You've earned enough money to receive your royal income while doing no royal duties. All it cost you was probably permanent alienation from the royal family. What a curiously symmetric comeuppance. They should easily be able to afford private schools, private universities, country clubs, polo clubs, all the cosmetic treatments Meghan's heart desires, gold-plated healthcare, and semi-annual or even quarterly family luxury vacations. All of this plus Hermes bags for the girls, Audemars Piguet watches for the boys, a couple dumb cars, a couple big diamonds, and moderately famous pop stars performing at your birthday and anniversary parties should be within reach for them. And more importantly, the total assurance that unless there's a complete government breakdown / revolution in the United States, their offspring will be set for life. So the question becomes, are they overspending? How much does it cost to be Harry and Meghan? Well, the property taxes on their house are $145,000 a year. The electricity is probably around $120,000 a year. Their water bill, $30,000 a year. I'm assuming Meghan buys organic groceries for the whole family. At a minimum where they live, that's $22,000 per year. Gas has got to be running them $26,000 or $27,000 per year. The nursery school those kiddies go to costs $35,000 per child per year. Obviously, when the kids aren't in school, they're with a nanny. If you salary the nannies at $40,000 a year, which is a bit low, but it's because they only take care of the kids outside of school hours, and assuming they have 2 nannies, a day nanny and a night nanny, that's $80,000 per year. Obviously, they have a full-time maid, that's $50,000 per year. They might have 2, who knows? According to experts, they spend a full $2.5 million per year on their mostly unnecessary security staff. They have to have the best of the best for no good reason. Harry's polo hobby alone costs just under $60,000 a year. Assuming he has one pony, he might have more. In Santa Barbara, they charge $11,000 for stabling, $55,000 a year for Harry to play and Meghan to watch. And I'm assuming he bought that pony and will ride it for 5 or 6 years. So I'm estimating that at $12,000 per year amortized. I also believe they have various social membership fees they need to pay annual dues for. We saw the paparazzi photos at the San Vicente bungalows. Obviously, they're still members at Soho House. Harry might still be paying for Turf Club, who knows? I estimated that at $80,000 per year. Harry's clothes, I estimated at maybe $15,000 per year. He's looking raggedy. Meghan's clothes, I estimated $300,000 per year. We can see she's spending double, triple what she used to. They're spending around $1 million a year on private jets. A charter private jet one way from LA to London is around $130,000. A domestic flight, for example, from California to the graves of murdered children in Texas is between $30,000 and $60,000. It depends on what kind of jet you want to use. They're spending at least $1 million a year on private jets. Meghan's cosmetic maintenance, at least $40,000 a year just on the basics: hair, Botox, filler, red lifts, laser, massage and spa, etc. Plus, who even knows on one-time treatments? Those celebrity super white crowns she has are $100,000. Any small elective procedure you want to get in LA costs $20,000-ish, but when you get it done by a top doctor, like the ones I'm sure she is going to, they push up into the $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 ballpark. Gold-plated medical insurance for a family of 4 is $110,000 a year in the US. PR. I believe that up until very recently, they were spending $1.5 million per year on PR. The golden package at places like Sunshine Sachs is about $100,000 a month. And you know, for a solid 2 years, they were in the news internationally twice a week with accompanying photos and video. Finally, who knows how much they spend every year on just entertaining, right? Wine, candles, gourmet meals, parties, dinner out. I put it at $50,000 because frankly, they don't seem to have very refined tastes. Harry is clearly not the kind of guy to order a $40,000 bottle of wine with dinner. But again, who knows? This is pure speculation. All told, in my estimation, I believe their lifestyle costs around $6.5 million per year. And let's not forget their legal expenses. According to Mark Stevens, the guy who represents James Hewitt and Julian Assange, Harry has already spent between $7.5 and $12.5 million US dollars on his lawsuits. Best case scenario, he recovers 60% of what he spent. That would be if he won every single case. We know he hasn't. We know he's on a losing streak, and that will cost him double. So at this point, it looks like he is going to be stuck with a legal bill between $15 million and $20 million. We know H&M do dumb shit like call their lawyer at 1 a.m. to tell them jokes they heard the other day. So I'm going to model the total amount H&M have sunk in legal at $15 million over 4 years. Hands down, suing the entire British press is the stupidest thing H&M have ever done. Obviously, there's a big discrepancy between what they could earn solely from capital gains and what they spent. So assuming they really are as dead to Hollywood as everyone is saying, and they'll never work in this town again, how long will it take for Meghan to leave Harry because she's no longer living the lifestyle she's become accustomed to? The answer is Harry running out of money will not be the trigger for Meghan leaving him. Even spending as they do with these outrageous legal expenses and security expenses, their dumb private jet habit, all of it, assuming they never make a single additional dollar, pound, euro, it would still take around 8 years for them to have their wealth. It would take a full 15 years of them continuing to spend exactly as they do to go broke as broke. Firstly, I'm sure that they will make more money, even if it's just from affiliate marketing and second and third rate brand ambassadorships. They are famous enough to make a couple $1,000,000 a year on Instagram if they need to. Secondly, as I said before, probably the markets will return better than this. Probably they'll branch out into some higher yield investments than the US stock market, as I said before, rental properties, maybe hotels and resorts as part of a real estate investment trust. Maybe they'll found a chain of yoga and wellness centers. Maybe they'll buy up all the retirement homes in Arizona. Maybe they'll actually meet their contractual obligations to Penguin House and Netflix. You never know. I imagine over the next decade, H&M are going to bust some moves to increase their wealth, and they're already buffered enough by their current wealth that not all of their decisions need to be correct. Not all of their investments need to pay off. They just need to net positive. And they can hire people to do that for them. Because there's no money pressure and Harry is such a doormat, I don't believe Meghan will leave him in the next decade. I think she will try to grow their wealth. I think she's looking for a plan B, C, and D at all times. I think she's getting her ducks in a row right now. She's touched up all her plastic surgery. She's getting thin as a pin. She keeps her children out of sight so men don't associate her with them. She's socializing aggressively again. I think that's the real reason she signed the WME deal without Harry. She doesn't want Ari Emanuel. He's too much work. She wants one of his friends, maybe an Abu Dhabi billionaire. In Meghan's mind, she's Jackie. Harry is as dead as JFK. She's looking for Onassis. But the odds of her finding a man as easy to control, as delusionally defensive of her, and as desirous as she is of international fame and recognition are low. Very low. Obviously, she wants both, but I believe if Meghan had to choose between fame and fortune, she would choose fame. Right now, she's sort of posturing as the pinnacle of society, too good for acting and so forth. But in 15 years older, with far less money, given the choice, I think she'd rather be on a morning talk show than installed in a diamond-studded harem in Brunei or whatever, able to buy all the couture in the world but never be seen again. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think I'm right about how much they have? Do you think I'm right about how much they're spending? Do you think she'll line up another man before she files for divorce, the way she's always done? Let me know in the comments. Toodles! Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.